So now we'll look at some principles governing the whole performance counseling subject. So when we see gaps in performance of subordinates or gaps in performance of children, some responses are, one response is people get angry, shout at them. So when you get angry, when you shout, when you become aggressive, it may work on some 10-20% of the people. Another 80% people it will not work. They will become defensive, they will get into shells, they will quit the job, they will stop studying. All those things will happen. So that is one response, getting angry, getting aggressive. Second response is, some managers, they tend to, array, this fellow is like that, chodo isko. So they stop talking to him, they stop dealing with him, they will not give him any work. So again this guy, he gets disillusioned, he may resign, or some people may actually enjoy it, saying that, okay, no work, full salary, so let me continue. So the appropriate response to choose when there is a gap in performance, and there will be gaps with most people for long time, is to consider getting into counseling. So counseling is easier said than done, and it needs tremendous amount of maturity, patience, listening skills and analytical skills to get into sort of a counseling. What will also help while counseling is if the counselor's image is positive, counselor is respected, a counselor is accepted, then the counseling becomes a little easy. Otherwise, if there is a senior person, his own track record is not great, or his reputation is not very good, and then he says, okay, now come, I'll counsel you. So people will say, kya, ye tu khud apna dekho. How come you feel emboldened to counsel me? So these kind of performance counseling session is, or a program, because it's not a one sitting issue. It's a 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, sometimes longer issue. That if the counselee, the person who's getting counseling, if we explain to him why this is being done, why this plan is there in place, and how it will help him, and that it is not a derogatory, insulting kind of a process, it will only help you do well in your career. All of us went through counseling, you also go through counseling. All of us did training programs, you also do training programs. If he agrees, if he understands what's happening, if he accepts that situation, then the learning, absorption, therefore development will be faster. Now, we worked on 3 cases, 2 were work-related counseling situations. 6 to 8 people actually analyzed and strategized and thought about it for an hour plus to help one individual. In real life, do we spend this kind of a time to help a person who is not performing? The problem begins here. Because we only say, hey, this guy is not doing well. So get irritated, criticize, backbite, gossip, transfer him to another department. So these are very easy things that companies can do. So every member of the team actually deserves that kind of support from the team manager and the organization and a few other colleagues, where people think, analyze and come out with a plan on how do we improve this person. So if you have a couple of people who need some immediate attention, this kind of planning and this kind of time and strategy has to go into it before you actually start the process of, otherwise it will flop. Everybody, even a good person, can be given counseling to become better, to become super. But we start with people where the gaps are wider and the need to improve is faster. There is a question whose responsibility it is to improve? My development is whose responsibility? Employee is asking, my development is whose responsibility? My responsibility? My boss's responsibility? Company's responsibility? HR's responsibility? Whose responsibility? Typically, in most cultures, do not give this impression or do not encourage people to think where the employee himself says, my development is my responsibility. He typically says, most of them are not even aware that they need some development. They think that, okay, I am coming to office on time. I am not even taking all my leaves. What more you want? So boss thinks development is the subordinate's responsibility. Subordinate thinks the development is my boss and the organization's responsibility, and nobody is actually taking that bull by the horn. So ideally, the boss should always take the responsibility for the performance and the improvement of the subordinate, and over a period of time, 3 to 6 months to 1 year, hand over the responsibility to the subordinate. Okay, now you are doing good, continue, but this development should be a continuous process. So this is the another kickstart issue. So in counseling, 2 or 3 points are very important that we should bear it in mind all the time. One is called directive versus non-directive style of counseling. Right? If it is Pushpak Guttedar, and if Pushpak has a little respect for me, I can call Pushpak and say, Pushpak Babu Chudu, these are your problems, this is what you need to do. So, henceforth this is your plan. This English program you will do, this newspaper you will start reading, you will start watching BBC, you will read at least 3 newspapers a day, you will start doing this, I will take you out 2-3 times with me to senior management visits, you observe, you learn, you do this. Pushpak quietly will agree, yes sir, I will do it. And he will do it also. If you use this style with Jatinder will say, what do you mean? You need training, I don't need training. I will train you, come. Is what Jatinder is likely to tell the boss, especially if it is the IT industry where people know that companies don't sack people easily because talent is short. So, if I am counseling Jatin, then I have to use non-directive style of counseling. So, which means counseling Jatin takes 6 to 10 times more time than counseling Pushpak.